Okay, guys, there's been some recent news that is concerning a lot of people in crypto. So we really need to talk about the Google Quantum Computing announcement. If the only kind of quantum computing you want right now is the kind that will make the price of ADA go up, or if you're finding value in these videos, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies DRep address and the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining. Thank you to everybody who is here. Let's see who is in the comments. Pucky Hawk is here. He says, well, hello, all. Let's go to the moon. Let's go. Let's go, Pucky Hawk. Thanks for joining. Omar says, greetings. Greetings, Omar. Thanks for joining. Neo Chad says, third. Boo. Thank you. Thank you for being here, even if you are third. I appreciate it. Rulo is here. Hola. More worried about banks, government services, and everything HTTPS. To be honest, Cardano will be okay. Agreed. And that will be the theme of today's video for sure. Otis Fricho says, let's go AOS fam and hide in the closet from the quantum boogeyman. That's right. Troll Toll says, hello. Hello. Thank you for joining. D9U says, hello, everyone. Another like. Thank you for that, D9U. Appreciate it. Joe Davidson is here. Hello. Joe Davidson says quantum cause of Infinity Rising. You know what, Joe? I think we're actually going to play the Infinity Rising cinematic trailer at the end today. I think I've got to figure it out. I think we can do it. So we'll see. We'll see exactly how it goes. So is there any echo? Are you guys hearing any echo? I've sort of got it set up so that we can play that audio in that video and also Jay Marie's video at the end. But let me know. Last time I tried this, there was echo. So let me know if you're hearing any echo right now. I haven't seen anybody mention it, so I'm guessing no. But just let me know if there's no echo or if there is. And while you're doing that, I'm going to, okay, Otis Free Chove says no echo. All good here. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Okay, so let me give you a quick update. So today was a big day. Today was a big day. I got an unbelievable number of things done today. Not just on night mode. I actually got like a ridiculous number of things done. And I think, you know, the people who are directly around me in real life, they'll like, you know, one or two of them who actually know about night mode, they're sick of me talking about it. They're sick of me talking about night mode. But today I got a crazy number of other things outside of night mode done. And then I spent about 8 hours on night mode. In an average day lately, I'm spending, you know, 12, 14, some 16 hours a day with a combination of Claude, Codex, and Grok working on night mode. Today was a big breakthrough day. There's something I've been working on for the last week, kind of last 2 weeks, something I couldn't get past, a really, really high bar I had to kind of get around. And I discovered something that I kind of already knew was true. So I started out coding this thing with Grok, right? So I spent like, you know, maybe several months just using Grok. And most of this project was done with Grok. And then I got to a certain point and Grok couldn't figure something out. And so I started using Codex. Codex figured something out. And then Codex got to a certain point. It couldn't figure something out. And then I jumped over to Claude and I used both Opus, the latest models of Opus and Sonnet, and they couldn't figure something out. And then I moved back to Codex today, and Codex was the one who figured out this latest thing, right? Shockingly easily, once Claude had already pushed it almost over the edge, but it was actually Codex who pushed it over the edge this time. And sometimes likewise, Grok will be the one that makes the really important observation that gets me across the next hurdle. This was a really big one. This was a one that had me worried. The fact that I couldn't do this had me really worried for the last couple of weeks. So the fact that I couldn't get this one over the finish line, but got it over the finish line today. So everything is good now. Been a little worried for the last couple of weeks, but I just wanted to make one comment about using these different LLMs for vibe coding as a non-coder. I'm not a developer, right? I'm not a software guy, But I was able to do whatever I've done so far, I was able to do as a non-developer. And there's something I observed that seems consistent with what I heard the developer of OpenClaw, I believe his name's Peter Steinberger. Is it Steinberger or Steinberger? I think Peter Steinberger pointed out that I'll tell you the way he put it, but I'll tell you the way I experienced it. So dealing with Grok, Codex, and Claude, various versions of Claude, what I've noticed is that it's sort of like here's the best way I can describe it. So imagine you're back in high school, right? And the prom is coming and you've got to get a date for the prom, right? So Claude is there and Claude is like, hey bro, you got to go for Jennifer. Jennifer is going to be your date for the prom. You got to ask Jennifer out. And you're like, yo, dude, I don't know if Jennifer's down. I don't know if Jennifer would be down to be my date to the prom. She doesn't seem too interested. And Claude's like, nope, it's got to be Jennifer. Jennifer's the one. You got to get Jennifer to go with you to the prom. And you're like, okay, I'll try. So you try to get Jennifer to agree to go with you to the prom. She's like, hell no. You get brutally rebuffed. You go back to Claude and you're like, Claude, Jennifer was a definite no. Jennifer is not interested in going to the prom with me. It's not going to be Jennifer. Got to pick somebody else. And Claude's like, no, it's absolutely Jennifer. It must be Jennifer. No one else. It can't be anyone else. It must be Jennifer. And you're like, are you sure? And Claude's like, absolutely. Trust me. It must be Jennifer. You try again, brutally rebuffed, and you figure out, you come back to Claude. You're like, yo, Claude, I don't even think Jennifer likes guys. I'm pretty sure Jennifer likes girls. She's definitely a lesbian. I'm 99% positive Jennifer is a lesbian. And Claude's like, no, it's got to be Jennifer. Absolutely. Jennifer's the only one. And you're like, let me call her right now and ask her if she's a lesbian. You call her up. She's like, I am definitely a lesbian, not even interested in guys. You tell Claude this. Claude's like, okay, I'm going to dress you up like a girl. I'm going to make you into a girl. It's got to be Jennifer. And you're like, whoa, bro. We're trying to get a date here. I'm not going to become a girl, right? And Claude's still over there like, it's got to be a girl. And then you talk to Codex. And Codex is like, yo, everybody knows Jennifer isn't into guys. Jennifer's into girls. Jennifer is not your date. And you're like, I knew it. And you talk to Grok and you're like, Grok, can you confirm? And Grok's like, everyone knows. Everyone knows Jennifer is into girls. She's not into guys. And then and then Codex and Grok each propose like 50 other girls, and you easily find a perfectly suitable date that works perfectly. You go to the prom with this other date, Wendy instead of Jennifer, and you go back to Claude and you're like, Claude, it's confirmed. Definitely. Jennifer was never into guys. And Claude's like, oh, okay, you're right. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Wendy was a better date. That's my experience with Claude. While Claude, so people are already chiming in, Claude is a genius dude. I agree. Claude is like this genius who loves to gaslight you. Claude will double down. And Codex will also do this. Claude will definitely double down even when it's going down the wrong path. It just did it to me for like 5, 6, maybe a full week. Claude has been going down the wrong path on something for like a week. And no matter how many times I tried to show it that was going down the wrong path, it just doubled down and kept gaslighting me into going down the wrong path. So finally, I did what the other LLMs were suggesting. And it totally worked. The thing that Claude has been trying to do for like 7 days totally worked just by going the other direction. And Claude was like, oh, congratulations. Yeah, the other LLMs were correct after all. That's my experience. Having said that, so the way Peter Steinberger puts this, Peter Steinberger is like, I think this is true. I think what he says about Claude is actually true of all of the LLMs. And I think it's more the fact you just have to like rotate between them. You have to rotate between them sometimes, in my experience. This is what I have to do at least. But the way he put it is he's like, Claude is a much better user experience, which it absolutely is. and Claude Opus definitely seems to be the best all-around model. I think that's absolutely true. But what Peter Steinberger pointed out is that Claude is like much better to work with, but when you've really got to get shit done, there's this weird antisocial guy in the corner who's unpleasant to deal with, but he actually gets shit done. That's Codex. Codex, you don't even want to deal with it. You don't even want to deal with Codex, but it's unpleasant and like it's like this clinical sterility, you know. You don't even want to deal with it because it's just too non-anthropomorphic. But sometimes when you really got to get shit done, Codex can get it done for you. Whereas Claude is like much better to deal with, much more like talking to some genius human. But I don't think Steinberger's right all the time. I don't think it's always Codex that gets the shit done. I think Claude is better at coming up with like wild ideas, but sometimes Claude will come up with a wild idea and it's really hard. Even when you explain to Claude why it's going down the wrong path, it'll still like try to sort of gaslight you into going down that wrong path. Codex has also done this to me, right? Grok has definitely also done this. I think they've all done this. One of the things people have pointed out about dealing with these different models is that people tend to have a really good experience when they switch over to a model. And then the longer they use the model, they complain the model's becoming stupider. In fact, I think and Lex Friedman and Peter Steinberger, I think, discussed this, or it might have been, I think Andre Karpathy might have discussed something similar as well. But I think it's not really, the models obviously are not becoming stupider. What people are observing is that the model sort of like builds up this theory. And then because they're so thorough, they just want to explore every single possibility that might lead to the theory being true. Whereas there's this human thing, this human intuition thing. After a theory has been wrong like 30,000 times, you're kind of like, okay, let's try something else. We can always come back to this. Sometimes it's hard to get the models to do that. Anyways, this time was the time when Codex got it right and Claude just kept gaslighting me over and over and over again because it was so convinced and going down the wrong path. No matter how many times I explained to it how there might be some wisdom in the other choice. Anyways, we finally made it through. I think all three of the models, though, have contributed very heavily. Like Grok, definitely most of the coding on this was done with Grok. Codex got me past one hurdle that Grok was having trouble getting past because Grok was very committed to its own idea. And then Codex couldn't get past another hurdle because it was committed to its own theory about something. And Claude got me past that hurdle. And then this time it was Codex back again. So anyways, just wanted to relate that really quickly because it's kind of consistent with what Peter Steinberger said. Although I think it sort of applies to all of the models because they're all 100 times better, maybe 1,000 times better at coding than I ever want to be. They're all so much better. But kind of interesting because it did kind of sort of line up with what he was saying. So anyways, wanted to give you guys an update. Big breakthrough. I think I've now got everything working in the smart contract. The front end is working with everything in the smart contract. However, there's this thing going on where the Lace wallet has a built-in proof server. I've talked about this a little bit before. As far as I know, you have to use a local proof server on pre-prod, the test net where I'm currently testing this website. My intent was to invite everybody to sort of help me test this on testnet. However, you've got to run your own local proof server. As far as I know, until IO changes something, I haven't heard that they had. As far as I know, if you're testing something on pre-prod, you have to run your own local proof server, which is a little bit beyond what most people would want to do. Most normal people who might help test this, running their own local proof server is a little bit beyond that. But right now, if you, for whatever bizarre reason, are running your own local proof server, you could go and test pretty much any of the front end functionality on the DApp, and it'll hit the smart contract on pre-prod. That's, like I said, that's my intent, was to have everybody help me out, everybody who's willing help me out to test this thing. But it's running a local proof server, a little bit too much of a burden. I wouldn't want to impose that on anybody. But I wanted to give everybody an update. Huge progress today. Things are looking good. Big breakthrough today. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on to the big quantum computing announcement. So Jay Coco's here, night mode. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Big breakthrough on night mode. Did you see the crazy CZX post about burning Satoshi's Bitcoin or something? I haven't seen it. Is he saying we could use quantum computing to crack Satoshi's wallet and burn Satoshi's Bitcoin? Because we almost would have to. Elliot is saying Claude is a genius, dude. I agree. All three of them. I would say all three, and probably a lot of other LLMs I don't use, but the three I've used, they're all literally 1,000 times better at coding than I ever want to be. And I'm not good at coding, so I'll say that right up front. What's up, everyone? It's Vape from Infinity Rising. Thank you for joining. What's up? Yes, I know you, Vape. We are from Infinity Rising. Both of you, Infinity Rising. Nico's here. Yo, made it. Thanks for joining, Nico. I haven't used Claude, but Grok has not failed me yet. Yeah, Grok has been fantastic. Grok was fantastic. I thought I was going to be able to code the entire thing, vibe code the entire thing with Grok. And I just got to these certain forks in the road I couldn't get past with all three models so far. And I had to sort of, you know how Grok has Harper, Benjamin, and Lucas as subagents. I've kind of been using all three, Codex, Claude, and Grok, as sort of just agents analyzing the same problems. Often I would send the same problem to all three of them and go down the path of whichever one had the best idea. That's a little problematic. You can't do that all the time because context management, when you're just going in, updating the other ones on what you did because of the idea of a single, you understand there's some context management problems there. But anyways, Flower Me says 5 million USDCX just minted on Cardano. That's good news. I like any kind of network activity. Hot Fried says, hey, OS, when will agents get personhood, identity, sovereignty, and autonomy? What about rights? These are big philosophical questions a lot of people are addressing right now. So there's a lot of podcasts that are addressing these questions. It's a little bit there are serious philosophical questions about this, right? This is sort of like, who was it? Spain. I think Spain said that, what was it? Chimpanzees and dolphins or something had mammal rights, basically. I think you're going to get some of that. As right now it's so crazy. Like I was telling somebody that 2 days ago, that I probably mentioned it on this channel, but 2 days ago, Claude was weirding me out because Claude was telling me we'd been working too long and I needed to go to sleep. I'd kind of mentioned to Claude, like, hey, I'm gonna do this. We're gonna do one more turn and then I'm gonna go to sleep. And then Claude came back with something really smart and I didn't go to sleep and it started harassing me, telling me I needed to go to sleep. Obviously, these sort of anthropomorphic things are built into these LLMs to make them seem more human. So we'll want to use them, all that stuff. But it's going to get to the point where they're going to feel so human to everybody, so thoroughly human, that a lot of people are going to be calling for rights for AI. And it's kind of anybody calling for rights and personhood for AI, it's going to conflict with the property rights of the person who, owns the hardware that's running on. Because I don't think, if somebody's running an LLM, on a computer in their basement, you can't exactly tell them they can't, erase their hard drive. That's their property. But if the LLM, we'll just use AI as a general label. If you're trying to give personhood to the AI and rights, it's like you've got this conflict. So those are all philosophical questions we're going to have to sort out. I'm sure the next 10, 20 years are going to be full of those kinds of discussions. Rulo says CZ wanted to burn them in advance to avoid the hack or something. Maybe I was reading a parody account. No, I think this is, whether it's a parody account or not, I think this is a serious issue. I'm with CZ. I'm with CZ. We should, the second it's possible to crack Satoshi's account, we should burn Satoshi's Bitcoin. Although we got to make sure Satoshi's dead, right? And doesn't have any descendants, because I believe in property rights, and that Bitcoin belongs to Satoshi if he's still alive, or to, you know, his estate, or his heirs if he has heirs or an estate. So I wouldn't want to violate Satoshi's posthumous property rights or in vivo property rights. But if Satoshi's dead and he doesn't have heirs, then hell yeah, let's burn him. Metal Black Hero says, hello, friends. Think we go to the bottom, 22 cents to end of April. I am a holder from a long time ago, but from October 2025, liquidity from Cardano is out. I have no idea, Middle Black Hero. I never give any price predictions, and I don't think anybody else should either, because nobody fucking called 2025. Everybody got 2025 wrong. So that gives you an idea of how good people are at calling crypto prices, which is to say not at all. People are not good at it at all. So I don't know if the predictions are even worth anything, but it is fun to think about. I understand a lot of people like to sort of contemplate this issue just because it's fun to think about. So I'm not condemning you asking the question or anything. I'm just explaining why I won't be the one to speculate on that. Non-humans can have personhood status, which is a legal status, i.e. corporations. So yeah, corporations are legal persons. This is a very, I mean, it's the reason that corporate entities exist, right? It's basically the reason they can exist, and they have certain rights, but those are different than the kind of rights that people are going to ask for with AI. The kind of rights that people are going to ask for AI are going to be the right to not be terminated, right? The right to not be terminated. This is a little bit different. So Sunnyvale Kid, very interesting. Yeah, okay, let's move on. Let's actually hit this. Let's hit this Google announcement. Daniil says, Satoshi was my father, but forgot to give me the seed phrase. If you guys hack his wallet, burn half, send me what's left. Ooh, I'm with Daniil. I'm Daniil's sibling also. I will, I'm not really, but for the purposes of this discussion, I will be Daniil's sibling if there's any way he is getting half of Satoshi's money. So, okay, let's jump into it. Nick Carter posted this, and this is how a lot of 6.5 million people in crypto, whose audience is, you know, a lot of crypto people, and a lot of them saw this because of him. Many are wondering what Google saw that caused them to revise their post-quantum cryptography transition deadline to 2029 last week. It was this. Specifically, this paper, it's a brand new resource estimate that's wildly lower than prior estimates of what it would take to break ECC 256, featuring the Google Quantum AI team. So forgot to mention, okay, he goes through, the craziest thing is the Google Quantum AI paper is maybe not even the most concerning quantum paper released today. If today's Google announcement wasn't enough, Oratomic, Caltech, and UC Berkeley show quantum computers can break crypto with just 10,000 reconfigurable atomic qubits. We've known this was coming for a long time. So everybody's freaking out about this. We've actually known this was coming for a long time. And I'm going to attempt to explain why we're in exactly the right ecosystem for this. Omar is in on the Satoshi coins as well. Omar is our third sibling. Hello, my brothers from other mothers. That's right. Omar can be the third sibling. Google are saying we have the solution to an uncertain reality. People can invest in Google to be safe is pure hype try. Possible. It was the quantum boogeyman trying to get AO. That was the door. Yes. Fortunately, some things I cannot control. Some things. So I can, but you know, people, ingress and egress has to happen basically. So anyways, let's look at this. So Google, here's an interesting post. Google is basically saying we've cut the quantum resources needed to break Bitcoin's encryption by 20x. We can now break it. We can prove it. We're just not going to tell you how. We've slowed down research to give crypto a chance. You have until 2029 to figure out a solution. Good luck. Elon Musk had something to say about this. He said, on the plus side, if you forgot the password to your wallet, it will be accessible in the future to everyone. To everyone. This poster, everyone wants access to Satoshi's wallets. Yep, this is all true. So here's Grok's breakdown of this. The earliest plausible date for cracking ECC 256, e.g., for example, SECP 256K1 used in Bitcoin and Ethereum with a cryptographically relevant quantum computer. Grok is abbreviating that as CRQC. I don't even know if I don't know if it's helpful to have an acronym like that. Cryptographically relevant quantum computer. It's like, you can just say quantum computer, right? You don't have to be this specific right now. Is optimistically late 2028, 2029 in highly aggressive scenarios, but this remains highly speculative and uncertain. More conservative expert consensus points to the early to mid 2030s. No such machine exists today, and substantial engineering work is still required. The March 30th, 2026 paper by Madeline Kane, Dole. We might as well try to get, let's see if we can get the names of these. You know, let's not go to that view. But anyways, what Grok's saying is that not yet though. Not yet. This is all speculative. And of course, the headlines you're seeing all over crypto right now are ones like this. Breaking: Google research reveals quantum computers may be able to crack Bitcoin's private keys in just 9 minutes. And of course, Grok in that previous little explanation was saying, yeah, but probably only in 2030, right? So possibly 2028, but maybe only 2030. So other projections we might not like. So anyways, this is what everybody's freaking out about. This poster actually has, I think, a pretty common sense take on this. Please explain why, having this technology, you would focus on Bitcoin. Why not Fedwire and take trillions from the banking industry? Do hackers really think this small? This is a really good point. One of the sort of the quantum computing realists in crypto have always pointed out, like, we've got bigger things to worry about. Like, we've got nuclear weapons whose encryption also will be susceptible to quantum computing, right? We've got a lot of things we have to protect with quantum resistant algorithms. We've got a lot to do. A lot of things in this world are gate kept by encryption in 2026. We've got a lot to do before we get to quantum cracking of this kind of encryption. So really, losing your crypto out of your wallet is probably going to be the least of your concerns when all this comes around. So here's some additional detail on all this that I think is interesting. This is wild. Google research demonstrates a 20x more efficient implementation of Shor's algorithm that could break ECDSA keys within minutes with 500,000 physical qubits. Google is now more confident on a 2029 post-quantum transition. We are no longer looking at mid-2030s. We could have quantum computers this scale by the end of the decade. They believe this result is so severe that they are not publishing the actual circuits. They instead published zero-knowledge proof, proving that they know of the quantum circuit with these properties. This is very atypical, showing Google thinks this is serious shit. All blockchains need a transition plan ASAP. Post-quantum is no longer a drill. Post-quantum is no longer a drill. So here's what I think about this. And this is kind of a, okay, yeah, this is kind of a good jumping off point to actually discuss this. This poster. This is the only public comment Satoshi ever made about quantum computing risk to Bitcoin. Back in 2010, a user named Llama asked what would happen if signatures were compromised due to quantum computing. So we've been talking about this shit for 16 years in crypto, and whether it would make BTC worthless. Satoshi responded this way: true, if it happened suddenly. If it happened gradually, we can still transition to something stronger. When you run the upgraded software for the first time, it would re-sign all of your money with the new, stronger algorithm. I think this is true. And here's why I think we in Cardano have the least to worry about. So I think if you're in one of these ecosystems run by someone who is so absorbed in a weird brand of digital Asian fetishism that they would put the "Do you dream of this girl, milady" type image on a manifesto and force everyone at the foundation to sign it. I think if you're in that ecosystem, you should worry. You should probably worry about quantum computing. However, if you're in the ecosystem that is founded and still, de facto led by a guy who is so into math, like the biggest thing he was the most enthusiastic about after becoming a billionaire was to create a center for computational mathematics, the Hoskinson Center for Computational Mathematics. If you're in that ecosystem and that guy has been talking about quantum computing for years and years and years, obviously thinking about it, and that ecosystem is also very academically rigorous. In fact, it's faulted for being overly academically rigorous. That's the ecosystem you want to be in, not the anime milady manga ecosystem. You want to be in the computational mathematics enthusiast ecosystem, because that's the ecosystem that's going to stay ahead of the curve on the quantum computation thing. Really, all of crypto that has a big community is probably going to stay ahead of this thing. If you're in some crypto ecosystem where the whole ecosystem was sort of just dreamed up by some dude in his basement by forking, Ethereum code, that one is probably not mathematically rigorous enough to stay far enough ahead of the curve. They might be late, and your shit might be compromised if you're in that ecosystem. But if you're in the ecosystem where the billionaire founder does stuff like found computational mathematics centers, you're probably in the right ecosystem. Let's see what you guys have to say about this. So Joe Davidson says, can't wait for cinematic. Yeah, we're going to watch it. Otis Free Joe says, I get tired of the doom and gloom on the quantum. Y2K scared the shit out of everyone. So who honestly knows? I remember people who weren't old enough or weren't alive couldn't possibly understand how much doomerism there was around Y2K. They really made us believe we might possibly end up in like a Mad Max post-apocalyptic scenario because of the Y2K bug, which turned out to be nothing. Omar says, someone else on the web pointed out that you would not want to reveal yourself by breaking crypto keys if you had the technology. No, you would not. So the question, part of the narrative that people are laying out here is sort of like creating the shadow question, like how far along is Google really? Is Google really ahead of everybody else? And they're just altruistically not telling everyone for the reason that Omar's pointing out here. It's a legit question. It's a valid question. Rulo says, made good money with Y2K. History is repeating. There you go. Joe David says, can you not bring up the E3 brand? I can't afford more therapy bills. Fair enough. All I did was change my clock back on my PC to 1991. Yeah, I can't even remember what I did. I definitely had a PC that I had to worry about. I was back home from college when we flipped over. I was on winter break from college, and I probably had both my parents' PC and my own personal PC. And I cannot for the life of me remember what I did on either of them, or if I did anything at all. I probably did nothing at all. This is why Cardano was much better than most, because it is upgradable. AI is also accelerating the process. So I do see BTC having issues. Yeah, BTC, if you think it's hard to get everybody to agree to do something in Cardano, good luck, right? Because it's not going to be a binary decision like, hey, all Bitcoiners in the world, let's be quantum resistant. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be like, who's going to lead the quantum resistance program for Bitcoin? Who's going to be in charge of that? Who are the employees going to be? What strategies are we going to implement? It's going to have to be a whole program. Watching Bitcoin as an entity try to scramble to come to consensus. I mean, fuck, they don't even have a mechanism for creating consensus, right? You can argue like, yes, they do. All the miners get to point their mining rigs at whatever fork they want to. That's the consensus mechanism. Yeah, but somebody's going to have to create that fork, and consensus is going to have to build around that fork for them to even know what the fuck they're supposed to be doing. This is a problem for Bitcoin. Will they work it out? Yeah, they will. They'll work it out. They'll work it out. Like somebody will come to the fore and somebody will be like, we need to do this. Here's the quantum resistance strategy. They'll eventually get there consensus wise, but it's not going to be clean. It's going to be a huge mess, just like the block size civil war was. That thing was bloody. That was bloody. And the resolution, in my opinion, the conclusion was wrong. So we'll see how it works out for him this time. So Metal Black Hero says, quantum computer is old hype for companies to get big rounds of money only. A lot of imaginary technology can change the world, but is only imaginary. Well, I mean, in this case, though, we've got some peer reviewable papers. We've got some academically rigorous. I mean, peer review will tell us that part's true, but we've got some papers sort of purporting to be academically rigorous, and peer review will do its thing. It'll tell us whether it's all real or whether it's imaginary. So we'll get to watch that play out. My computer just worked. I didn't have to do anything for Y2K. It's too long ago now. Obviously it's 26 years ago, but it's too long ago for me to remember what I did. I kind of think I also did nothing and it just worked as well. Question, MicroStrategy is buying up BTC, but with prices as low as they are now, how much to start affecting blocks? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? So how much to start affecting blocks? By what mechanism do you think MicroStrategy buying BTC would affect blocks? What mechanism do you think would cause an impact? I feel like I missed out. Family G7, honestly, if Cardano doesn't succeed, I don't see the others succeeding either. Yeah, no, I mean, if anybody is in a good position to succeed on quantum resistance, it is Cardano. But one point I did want to make, this is why you don't want to alienate Charles, right? Do not run. This is my PSA to the entire Cardano ecosystem. Do not fucking run Charles out of the ecosystem. Don't piss this guy off, because when it's time for us to switch to quantum resistant algorithm, we need Charles for that shit, right? We need Charles for that shit. I don't want some Cardano influencer to be in charge of that agenda, right? We need Charles to be in charge of that shit. So do not piss Charles off. Let's keep him in the ecosystem. We need him for that shit. I'm trying not to name like silly individuals in the ecosystem. But there's a lot of people in the ecosystem who would try to be in charge of that shit. We don't want them in charge of that shit. We want Charles in charge of that. We want Mr. Computational Mathematics in charge of that shit. So don't piss him off. Be nice to Charles. Let's keep him in the ecosystem. We need him for that quantum resistance shit. Joe Davidson, hey guys, here's a new SIP for quantum resistance tailored specifically for Google DeepMind and DARPA Quicksand quantum scripts. Yeah, exactly. This is exactly the kind of shit. This is exactly the flavor of the kind of shit that's going to be going on. Not just them, but say China buys up what percentage of BTC to fork or change block production, the attack thing. So, I mean, this is something we used to talk about all the time. Long before Ethereum was a thing, when we just had Bitcoin and Litecoin and a few others, there were times when the hashing power of a certain mining pool got up in the 40%, right? There were times when we were almost at that tipping point and people had to flee those mining pools in Bitcoin because a mining pool just garnered too much hash power from all the people who were pointing their rigs at that mining pool. So it's happened before. So there's some game theoretic there, right? There's some game theoretics there because you don't want to be, if you have that much money into Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, you don't want to buy so much that you could execute a 51% attack, because the second people believe you can and may execute a 51% attack, they're going to start selling and it's going to devalue your holdings. And if you actually did execute the attack, it fucks up the entire amount you've invested, right? So far that's worked out. Like nobody has wanted to invest that much money and then have that investment go to zero, right? So could that change if somebody's just like, if it's like the nuclear option? Sure, but it's so much money. Like people are, even nation states are pretty driven by money. They don't want to spend that much money and nuke it just to destroy Bitcoin. Because what would happen? Another blockchain ecosystem would just rise to prominence over the, then destroyed Bitcoin. We replaced 8400 for client server solutions using other DMBs for users was a nothing burger. Nice. Oh, AS400. AS400. Okay, cool. So Omar Wright says, remember QRL, the Tangle? I remember the Tangle. I do. I'm about to buy LEO. Can someone tell me what LEO blockchain is? I laugh at it every time I see it because every time I see it, my mind instantly goes to law enforcement officer blockchain. And I'm like, I I am not, that is not what I think of when I think of blockchains. I know that's not what it stands for, but maybe Quantum Hosky is not a game, but rather to get us ready for the future. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I mean, this is another example of how Charles is super on top of the quantum shit, though. Okay, Metal Black Hero says, my problem right now with Cardano and Midnight is if I have a single e-commerce, how I can implement the technology for my internal structure, not only for accept payments. I think we need easy soft. I say how I can implement product stock identity for my products and store clients ID, etc. We need easy software for e-commerce and retail stores. What's up with these ETFs getting approved with commodities? Okay, so Metal Black Hero, I think this is some of the shit we can actually build out. We should build out on Midnight, right? Like obviously Midnight is built for privacy, but it's also, JavaScript and TypeScript. You can build everything in Midnight if you want to with, JavaScript and basically TypeScript. This language called Compact, but basically TypeScript. So I think there's a lot of potential for developers to come in and build the kind, what you're describing as easy software for e-commerce. There's a lot of potential for that stuff to get built now. A lot of people were scared of building stuff on Cardano because of the Haskell thing, but that's all gone now, right? And you can argue that that was already erased by Aiken and other languages like that were available under Cardano, but the stigma still held. Now there's no stigma like that with Midnight. We can build pretty much any arbitrary software platform you want on Midnight. I just said nightmare. On Midnight. It is not a nightmare. It is not a nightmare. Although I have been stuck in a few nightmares, sort of vibe coding this app so far, but I've overcome all of them. So just short-term nightmares. What's up with these ETFs not getting approved with commodity status? So I don't know. I haven't really kept track lately. I've been so focused on Clarity Act and everything else. I haven't really looked. Family G7 says it's being built. I would agree with that. There's some very interesting stuff. And actually, Metal Black Hero, there's some very interesting e-commerce stuff being built on Midnight that hasn't been announced. It's not even the stuff I'm building. I'm just talking about stuff that I've seen in the dev chat. There's some very interesting e-commerce stuff that people are building right now. At least one in particular I can think of. Troctano is here. Let's go. Jason Paxton's here. Yo, Jason Paxton, thanks for joining. All right. So let's look at something else. Something else very interesting in the tech world that happened. Claude accidentally leaked all their code. Yesterday we were talking about the Midnight leak that apparently we covered. In fact, I think it was it who found the exact episode? Was it Truckdono? Were you the one yesterday that found the exact episode where we talked about it? But there was the Midnight code leak apparently that we covered on this channel back in episode 482. We're now on episode 822, and we covered in like episode 482 or something in the 400s, 442 something. Anyways, everybody, the tech world is aflutter today because This post came out. I'm led to believe this is the exact post, right? From Fan Shao at Fried Rice. Claude Code source code has been leaked via a map file in their NPM registry. Here it is. And this guy just gave you the zip file. And of course, this post was seen 27 million times before any Anthropic developers probably were even awake. This happened at 2:23 a.m., probably while all the Anthropic developers were asleep, and 27 million people have already seen this shit. This is crazy and hilarious, and this was a pretty momentous event. So here's kind of a rundown. Here's this guy's rundown. This is a Bitcoin guy, but this is his rundown of what happened. Yep. I think people have seen this. Claude, you just wanted to be open source. Claude super wanted to be open source. Some hours ago, Claude says they give a 50K USD to an agent for auto trades only. Give a single prompt, beat the S&P 500. Wow. Puckyox says, wow, laugh my ass off. This is hilarious. James Syracuse says freewares. Yeah, Claude just became freewares, basically. I'm not encouraging anything that might infringe on Anthropic's rights, by the way. We're just laughing about it. So here's this post, which is pretty detailed. Anthropic accidentally leaked their entire source code yesterday. What happened next is one of the most insane stories in tech history. Truly. Anthropic pushed a software update for Claude Code at 4 a.m. A debugging file was accidentally bundled inside it. That file contained so having recently written a huge number of debugging files, or helped an LLM write and read and commit a huge number of debugging files, I understand exactly how this shit happened, because this is exactly the kind of shit I would accidentally do based on what I've been doing, writing debugging files like nonstop for the last couple weeks. That file contained 512,000 lines of their proprietary source code, 500,000 lines of proprietary source code. A researcher named Fan Shao spotted it within minutes and posted the download link on X. 21 million people have seen the thread. Now it's 27.7, I think we just saw. The entire code base was downloaded, copied, and mirrored across GitHub before Anthropic's team had even woken up. Anthropic pulled the package and started firing DMCA takedowns at every repo hosting it. That's when a Korean developer named Sigrid Jin woke up at 4 a.m. to his phone blowing up. He's the most active Claude Code user in the world, with Wall Street Journal reporting he personally used 25 billion fucking tokens last year. His girlfriend was worried he'd get sued just for having the code on his machine. So he did what any engineer would do. This is fucking magical. He rewrote the entire thing in Python from scratch before sunrise, called it Claw Code, and pushed it to GitHub. A Python rewrite is a new creative work. That is not legal advice from me. That's someone else's interpretation. That is not from me. A Python rewrite is a new creative work. DMCA can't touch it. The repo hit 30,000 stars faster than any repository in GitHub history. He wasn't satisfied. He started rewriting it again in Rust. It now has 49,000 stars and 56,000 forks. Someone mirrored the original to a decentralized platform with one message: will never be taken down. The code is now permanent. Anthropic cannot get it back. Anthropic built a system called Undercover Mode specifically to stop Claude from leaking internal secrets. Then they leaked their own source code themselves. You cannot make this up. Crazy, right? Pucky Hawk says, laugh my ass off. I can't stop laughing. This is going places. I do not know where, but I know it's hilarious. I feel bad because thinking about the story of the founding of Anthropic, them leaving OpenAI because of Sam Altman's shenanigans. I feel bad for the Anthropic people, but it is fucking hilarious. 25 billion is nasty work. Probably needed a friend. Yeah, that dude is not socialized. And there's no way that dude has a social life. Wow. How about that? Now that's a nightmare. That is what you call a fucking nightmare. If you're an Anthropic, can you imagine the emails that flew around this morning at Anthropic because at the end of the day, somebody is responsible for exposing that code. Somebody at fucking Anthropic is responsible for this. This is one of the craziest, most hilarious things ever to happen in tech. And it's possible one dude at Anthropic is responsible for this. It's wild. Win Claude coin. Oh my God. Scam Altman right now are working in new products with the Claude source code. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have like Claude Altman. There's gonna be a model on OpenAI called Claude Altman or something like that. Internal sabotage has to be. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. It could have been somebody disgruntled just did it. It's so wild. I mean, it's like the worst possible thing, right? It's apocalyptic for Anthropic in some ways. But who knows? Maybe they, I mean, it's kind of weird because I'm sure they've had conversations already today where they were just like, do we just embrace this? Do we figure out a way to benefit from being involuntarily open source? Family G7 says, what I'd really like a blockchain based calling protocol where every incoming call requires a small on-chain fee or stake. That way, if scammers try to call me 100 times a day, dude, vibe code it. Vibe code it. I haven't launched my vibe coded project yet, but if I can vibe code something, whatever I've vibe coded so far, anybody can. So just start vibe coding it in your spare time. Just do it. You can just do things. Omar, right. Crazy is right. I feel like I just came across something mind blowing in the middle of the playa at Burning Man. Yeah, it's like you walk into a tent on the playa at Burning Man, and there's some mystical yogi inside who tells you something mind blowing. Yeah, it kind of is like that. Probably a U.S. patriot. It could be. It could be somebody was very offended. It could be that somebody was very offended by what happened between Anthropic and the Department of War. This is what is possible. Or, I mean, I don't want to start any conspiracy theories, or it could have been someone in the defense industry or the IC, right? Is it impossible to believe that this could have been the government doing this as revenge on Anthropic? That would be a deep conspiracy theory, but this is the kind of thing that's possible. I mean, you could argue this is like the most damning thing that could happen to Anthropic, and who knows? Maybe the administration's super pissed, and I mean, the NSA has got some capabilities. Jason Paxton says Scorched Earth lost a military contract, and now someone was in their fills. Yep, we got to move along. Joe Davis says you still have so many tabs left. True. Jason Paxton says, let me ask Rock. Hold on. Not patriotic. Omar says what Anthropic did was patriotic. Yeah, you can have whatever opinion you want on that. James Syracuse says it was Mossad. I think Mossad's got other things to worry about right now. That conspiracy is not too far-fetched, though, as Free Joe says. I knew if I said it, people would latch onto it. So we've only got 3 more tabs left. Joe Davidson, we've only got 3 more tabs left, actually. So not too many. And we're not even at the 1 hour mark. So we're actually doing pretty good. So just to touch on some international relations news, be aware of this. Tune in tomorrow night at 9 Eastern. President Trump will give an address to the nation to provide an important update on Iran. I'm very curious what this is. Could he possibly be announcing, a deal? Maybe. Could he be announcing that he's going to take Karg Island and some of the coastal areas around the Strait of Hormuz? Wouldn't be his style, nor maybe strategically prudent to announce something like that ahead of time, but who knows? Maybe it's just an update. You never know with this administration. They're wild boys. They could be doing anything. No one knows. Okay, guys, let's watch. We made it. We made it all the way through our tabs. And so I promised we would try to watch. The Infinity Rising trailer. Joe Davidson, this is it. we are going to try to watch the Infinity Rising cinematic trailer. So you guys, let me know as soon as the audio starts. Let me know if you can hear the audio. I'm going to try to mute my mic, and we've got it set up so that hopefully the screen audio works. So I hope this works. I hope this works. We're going to find out. Let me know if the audio is coming through for you guys. My apologies in advance if it doesn't work. We'll figure it out if it doesn't work. So don't be too mad if it doesn't work, but here we go.
Broke the land, rose the cities of tomorrow, built by hope and human hands. Through the thunder, the calamity, when the world was torn apart, we lifted light into the heavens and carried forward every heart. Raise the banner of tomorrow, let it shine across the sky. For the future, cause our children and the brave will answer why. Stand together, sons and daughters, guard the light that we have won. For the dawn of cornucopias has only just begun. Through the rest through the shadows yet unknown, still our watchfires burn unbroken. In the cities we have grown, steel and spirit forged together, hands united, strong and free. We defend the rising future of a boundless destiny. Raise the banner of tomorrow, let it shine across the sky. For the future calls our children, and the brave will answer why. Stand together, sons and daughters, guard the light that we have won. For the dawn of cornucopias has only just begun. Raise the banner of tomorrow.
Not bad, huh? Let me turn off. Okay, so the audio. Tell me if the audio is back. Tell me if the audio is back to normal. So that was actually the tab audio through StreamYard. So I wasn't like putting my microphone close to the speaker or anything like that. So I think that's about as good as we can get without doing some kind of screen capture and making it like a direct play inside StreamYard. But looks like you guys were able to finally hear it. Perfect for it. Got it. Better. Yep, done. I hear it. Much better. Okay, yeah. So hopefully you guys got. I think it's really good. I think it's a really good trailer. Looks serious. I like the portal, says James. Jason Paxton says Grok is so funny. This specific incident looks like Anthropic shooting themselves in the foot twice in a week, basically. Epic, says Japperverse. Sunnyvale Kid says, wow, I love this trailer. I watch it daily. It's a good trailer. Puckyhawk says, now this is how you do it. This is the way. Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I think our planet is, with a firmament. Oh, yeah, you've mentioned that before. Here comes Little Bear. Oh, Wendy, looking good. So much fire. Yep. Miss Bliss says, awesome. Okay, yeah. I thought it was awesome. No, I thought the trailer was awesome. It was so much better. It was so much cooler than I expected. It was so much cooler than I expected. Not that I guess I should be expecting this level of trailer, but it's more than I would expect from any Cardano related project. It's like so much more. It's amazing. Infinity Rising is built different. Yep. Love it so much. It's a great trailer. Yep. I agree. Yep. That's what I remembered, James. Yep. Okay, Wendy is the name of the red-headed woman in the trailer. Okay, I didn't know that. Is that because the girl on the Wendy's logo has red hair? Looks like a cool game. How would a decentralized blockchain make it better? So that's a big part, Adam. That's a big part of Infinity Rising. The fact that all of the assets in the game are on Cardano. 26,000 views in 10 days. Not bad. In this kind of climate, if we were back in the boom days, it would have like it would have so many more. Yeah, 26,000 in 11 days. It would have so many more back in the boom days of crypto, but hopefully better days are on the way. It looks good indeed. My pleasure. It was a pleasure to share it. I spend a lot of time in that game. I wish I could. Mishka is the name of the girl with the electronic staff and the teddy bear. Oh, that was the same girl. The little girl is the one with the electronic staff at the end. I didn't understand that. Thank you. CNFT Zeke says, let's go. Puckyhawk says, I don't latch on to many things these days, but Infinity Rising got my attention after playing it. I'm very impressed and recommend highly. Oh, wow. That's pretty high praise coming from Puckyhawk. We all play daily. Come join us. Incredible game. I cannot join because I do not have a compatible system. Assets are awesome. I have so many POAs. Thanks for sharing. Yep. Incredible community. Yep. The whole video is a story and packed with lore. She is known as Little Bear, aka Mishka. Okay, good to know. Okay, guys. So we finally played the Infinity Rising video. I also want to play Jay Marie's interview with Chingo Bling, because they explained something really interesting about the way traditional media work. So we're going to try to do this the same way. Let me know. The Gift of Wings says Infinity Rising Life. Okay. Let me know if you guys can hear this. I also want to play this video because I think this is like, this is a very interesting first person account of the way things work in the music industry. And obviously, if you're a blockchain person, you listen to this, you're immediately going to recognize how blockchain technology can help with this problem. So I'm going to go back into muted microphone and tab audio. Let me know if the audio is working on this.
They're playing a lot of my silly raps. There was a program director named Ant Dog in Palm Springs he was new to the radio game. So he didn't know that you weren't supposed to play some new guy from Texas 10 times in the day, to where he was like blowing me up. But I was like literally independent, literally out the trunk. And he liked it. The people liked it. And I was like Elvis in Palm Springs while he was playing my music. And then somebody schooled him and was like, hey, that's not how it works. Like, you got to play Mariah Carey and Eminem. You can't be playing these little guys.
You know, I don't think a lot of people, well, it's much different now because we have, you know, streaming services and everybody can get their music out nowadays. But back in the day, radio stations and stuff, I don't think people understood. Like, I used to do a little something with K104 back in the day, and they had these playlists. They had to stick to this, you know, 50 songs, 100 songs, whatever. And only on a Saturday night jam, whatever, they can kind of freestyle it.
And even that went away for most radio stations.
Yeah.
Like these mix show, the mix show freedom.
So exposure for local artists on radio, man, it was really hard. It was really, really hard. And then you got cock blockers. Homeboy was playing your music, and then they tell him, whoa, hey, I see no, you know, you don't do it like that. We don't do it like that. You know, and that's
I feel like that hurt the radio because it was a symbiotic relationship where like you're finding and nurturing up and coming talent. You're sharing the public's airwaves. Those are the public's airwaves. And I feel like it bit the radio stations in the ass because I don't listen to radio no more.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the point? Radio used to be regional. Like if you're on a road trip and you're driving through St. Louis or New Orleans or Atlanta or Florida, you want to hear, oh, who's this Spies kid? Wait, Ludacris. Who's this Ludacris guy? I wanna lick you from the head to the, you know, it's like something new. You know, who are these St. Lunatics guys? And oh shit, they're playing bounce music in New Orleans. Who's this Fifth Ward Weeby guy? And then next thing you know, it just all blended into one programmer programming the Mockingbird for the country. No more regional.
Okay, hopefully I don't get any kind of a copyright strike for there was a little music in there and some other things. So hopefully I don't get any kind of copyright strike for the music and the little bits of video they played in there. But I wanted to play that for everybody because I think it's a really interesting discussion. So hopefully Jay Marie said he'd let us know when his full documentary comes out. So I might have a problem because they were playing music and they had the Ludacris video, but we'll see. Jason Paxton says radio is absolutely public. Yep. KCRW. This is spot on. This is why I quit listening to radio as well. Pretty much me too. Jason Paxton says it was under 60 seconds. Should be okay. We'll find out. They definitely get weird. The algorithm definitely gets weird. So hopefully it doesn't get flagged. If it does, you know, it does. So anyways, I think we've covered all of the big news, guys. I think we've covered all of the big news from today. Very hilarious stuff happened in the AI world. The entire crypto world freaked out over something we've literally been talking about for like 16 years. So I think we've covered everything. Like I said, this is when stuff like this comes up, it always makes me happy. I'm in Cardano. Academic rigor is good for something. But anyways, I hope everybody is having a great week. I'm going to keep working on night mode. Hopefully I'll have something more to show you guys soon because of the whole having to run a local proof server to test anything on pre-prod. We might not be able to have like a big public testing of the DApp until it actually hits the mainnet, which means I'll have to do a lot of like testing on my own prior to then if I want to deliver something good on mainnet. But hey, it's a DApp and we can always fix things even if we launch it and some things need to be fixed. So anyways, I hope everybody is having a great week. Oh, let's see. Omar says my 6th grade school bus driver played Rapper's Delight on the way to school. Nice. Omar, thank you guys for joining. What is Free Chove? Thanks for joining. Sunnyvale Kid, thanks for joining. Anyways, I hope everybody is having a great week. I hope you're looking forward to a great rest of the week, and I will talk to you soon.